Welcome back to the Metal Lounge. On today's episode, we're going to be ranking our top 5 albums of the year, and we're going to be discussing bands to look out for in 2025.
Where'd you get that from?
The Metal Lounge. My sister got it for me for Christmas.
Metallounge.shop.
Yeah, that doesn't exist.
Nice.
It's a teaser for things to come.
I hope not. Alright, so give me your top 5 albums of the year.
So at number 5, one of my favourite bands ever, Bring Me the Horizon, with Post-Human Survival or Next Gen. Yeah, it's surprising it's up there for me because I didn't love it. It's not my favourite Bring Me album ever, but it's just a really solid album. Like, I really did like the singles, not all of them, but a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
It got a solid 7 out of 10.
On your rating.
Yeah, on my rating. Yeah, so I basically rated all the songs out of 10. And then did an average. Technically, there were albums I liked more, but then when I look back over them, Bring Me the Horizon, like, I think what impressed me the most is just how ambitious the album was and like the vision they were able to put out there with like the kind of modern emo sound and the attention to detail in the songwriting. Yeah, my favorite tracks from it are probably, I liked Limousine, Amen, and Top 10 Statues That Cry Blood. That has been on my playlist like all the time. No, it's a quality album and
really good album, yeah.
Yeah, it's a long album as well. Like they put out for sure. The only disappointing thing is I didn't love all the singles. I think they lost their longevity over time as well. Like Die For You and Strangers and Lost. They're good songs, and I really appreciate my songs. But for my personal taste, they're not quite up there. Even though they're the biggest. Well, it's crazy. It still made number 5, but yeah, I still love it. It deserves to be up there. Okay, so at number 4, Linkin Park. From Zero. Yeah, I think it is just like a quality album, and to come back from, you know, one of the most famous lead singers ever dying and then coming back with an album that strong, so many good singles from it, really consistent album, seeing them live as well like really connected me to this new era of the band. And yeah, I think that unlike Bring Me, it's a lot more condensed. There's only like 10 tracks and they're a bit more sort of like, it's a bit more what you'd expect from Linkin Park. It's like a sound, whereas Bring Me was so ambitious. Whereas they pulled it off, but like it is a little bit harder to listen Bring Me than it is to listen to From Zero. Like The Emptiness Machine, their first single especially, has been on repeat a lot throughout this year. I really like some of the heavier songs as well, which is impressive for a band that as old as Linkin Park to still be putting out like ferociously like angry heavy songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not number 4. Number 3, one of your favourite bands, Falling in Reverse, Popular Monster. So this one's controversial because obviously the song Popular Monster, which is the album's named after, came out 2019. So some people refuse to put this as album of the year, but me being a stickler, it came out officially 2024. So where else are you gonna? What other year can you put it in?
Somewhere in the future where it doesn't get there.
You have to put it as a 2024 album release, and oh my god, it's so consistent. It could be my number 1, but for how fucking good it is and how like how many hours I put into the album already and like the videos and everything. But I think it does irk me a little bit how a lot of it, like Popular Monsters from 2019, some of them from 2021, 22. So I have kind of marked it down a little bit in that respect because it's from such a long period that it just feels like a greatest hits more than an actual album. But still, it came out this year and most songs are like 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10 for me. It's so consistent. And some of the songs I'd never heard before, like Bad Guy and some of those album tracks are actually really good. It's not all just like, you know, the singles. I love that album. It got an 8, it got a 7.45 on my rating system, which is pretty good.
Pretty precise, yeah.
Yeah.
1.45.
Yeah.
Nice, man. Can't agree with any of that, but fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, that was number 3.
That was number 3. So number 2 is Bilmuri, American Motorsport. It was what got me into alternative, really. I never thought I'd be into country and metal music, and like Falling in Reverse, they have All My Life, which is obviously inspired a bit by Bill Murray, I reckon. Yeah, it like opened me up to a new kind of genre, and I think that's what's really exciting about this album. It's like it's totally fresh but still familiar within the metalcore post-hardcore scene. The production is flawless, the song quality is so high. I can't believe that they made a whole album with like songs that strong. Like I'm surprised it's not number one as well. It's been my soundtrack to my year pretty much. Like I think I heard it sort of, did it come out like April, May, like beginning of summer,
something like that, and then they did like a re-release with a couple of the singles that weren't on the original.
Yeah, I didn't actually love the re-release, to be honest, but the album was so strong. Yeah, it covered up some of the cracks of like the lesser B tracks getting released with the re-release.
They weren't lesser B tracks, they were
they
huge
were.
tracks.
They were like, well, I didn't like them as much, to be
Fair
honest.
enough. Straight Through You.
No, that's from the original
Not from
album.
the original.
No, that was way before. No,
Was that on the
Yeah.
the normal one?
that came out in like 2022, man.
Oh, sure.
Been on the re-release.
You're sleeping on a couple of songs on there.
See, would you count like those songs as being on American Motorsports now?
Yeah, because that is a release. It's the
But they both came out the same year. and
was it
it's
like a deluxe? Is it a deluxe release?
deluxe release? It's confusing to me. So
Well,
I'm only rating it
you're
on.
counting Falling Reverse, and
Yeah,
half the album
yeah, but
came
no, but
out.
that's two different albums to me. Like, but yeah, Bilmuri got me cranking my hog all year, and I'm loving it, and I can't wait to see them in 2025 in February. It's gonna be sick.
Yeah.
Are you coming as well?
I got tickets, but I'm in a wait list to see if anyone cancels.
I see.
Yeah,
You got to come, man. I'm sure
Yeah.
you'll get them close to the time. Crank our hugs together.
I will, mate.
As men. Yeah, which leads me on to my favourite album of the year, which is, of course, Boundaries. Death is a Little More. Oh my god, this album. I think it's got a little bit of bias because it came out so early, so I've had so long to enjoy it. But every song is fucking incredible. Like the sounds, the production they have is dark, it's gritty. It's got his like mega testosterone, like Kublai Khan-esque vocals. The guitar work, incredible, impeccable. The guitar work is on this album, and you can hear everything perfectly from the vocals to the guitars to the drums. And it's so dark. I love the album art, and it's not just like they've not only got the sound, they've got the songs, they've got the riffs. I've got so much mileage out of this album all year for an album that, you know, it wasn't the most ambitious album. Like, they've done stuff a little bit different and a little bit refreshed with modern production. For it to stand out so much is so impressive because of a sea of metalcore, what do you call them? Like hardcore, metalcore?
Yeah, but
Metalcore bands. For them to stand out as much as they do from not really changing that much, it's really impressive to me. It's like they've mastered that sound. They've mastered their craft. And I've been into Boundaries a little bit for the last few years, and this album is like the magnum opus for me. Like, I can't even put it into words how good this album is. Like, you have to check it out. It's I knew it was my number one, like probably in like August or so. It was up there. Kanye Vultures was number one until about then, but that's fallen out of favor. But yeah, so Boundaries, Death is a Little More, without a shadow of a doubt, my number one. All right, so Alan, what are your top 5 albums of the year?
number 5, we've got Eviscerate by Eidola.
Who?
That's
like-
Andrew Wells'
yeah,
band,
yeah.
the current lead singer of Dance Gavin Dance.
Wow, he's moved up in the world, hasn't he? He's got
Yeah.
a nice little promotion.
He's doing all right. And this
Yeah.
album, I'd say he's taken a slightly different step as well. I think they've
You must hate it if it's only number 5. It's normally number 1, though.
not normally number 1. I'll say, you know what, it's my least favourite Eidola album, but it makes my top 5 because they create
'Cause they're that
bangers.
good,
They're
yeah.
that good. He's more personable in this album. He's usually purely speaking about almost like the dogma
Fantasy.
or knowledge or not fantasy, but like culture.
Fiction.
It's usually culture. It's cultural things.
Not interested.
It's usually singing about the lore of different cultures and myths and legend and
The
and it's-
law.
Yeah. We've got
If
cats.
you cross the road in America, you're going to jail.
the badge and the bullet.
If you litter in Nebraska, you're going to jail.
Okay, that's my number 5.
Interesting.
Well deserved. Andrew Wells, insane instrumentals, insane. You'd like it. Swancore, very very good album.
Very yes.
very good. Very good album.
VVG.
Number 4, Death is Little More by Boundaries.
Really?
I was late to this album. When did it come out?
It came out towards the beginning of this year.
Okay, I definitely heard a track when you started talking about it back then.
I recommended it.
And I was
to you
like,
highly.
cool. Yeah,
You were like, this is produced by the Periphery label. And I was like, yeah, that's a very Alan thing to do.
3 Dot Production.
Yeah, that was so Alan.
Yeah. But then I didn't really go and check it out until sort of like winter. And so
you kept that quiet?
Quite recently. And then I went through it and I was like, holy moly, it's a good album. Very, very good album. Very good album. I've written here, track 2, Darkness Shared.
Oh, yeah.
I think that means it was my favourite song. Yeah. A ridiculous song. It's like, it's just so aggressive. And also, he is like, I hate saying this about vocalists, but he has got a unique voice.
It's so like ultra testosterone, isn't it? It's like the ultimate man vocal.
Yeah. Real grumpy.
Bearman. It's like he uses like this specific like man technique that women can't do.
He sounds like a wife beater.
Holy loaded gun!
That's like Barney from The Simpsons.
Holding a loaded gun to my love.
He does not sound like that.
It's a little bit like that.
Not even close. That's like Barney. Oh, homie.
He's got a bit of like, it's like a really open technique that like very masculine. It's ultra masculine.
Ultra ticked off.
I didn't get my allowance today, so I'm really ticked off. Step off! Step off!
Yeah, number 4, Boundaries.
I'm so happy you're on the Boundaries train, man. I wasn't expecting that.
I couldn't
you
deny
kept that
it.
quiet when I was going through mine.
I cannot deny that is an insanely good metal album.
How good is it at the end of I think it's Darkness Share, when he says the lines, to the wake and the wailing. Oh, it's so good. I need to actually play that. Oh, jeez! Yes, Lewis! Oh man, it's so good. That tempo change and key change, I think.
Good God.
The last song on the album really got me as well, like where he's talking about just like being a fuck up and like, but he's getting better, and talking about just like hating himself, and you can really feel those are like genuine concerns of his.
Bloody good album.
Bruh. Oh,
that tickled me. Number 3, we've got Cure from Erra.
Really? Wow.
I hope you didn't sleep on that album.
I did sleep on it. Like I did listen to it. I did listen to it, but it didn't hit me. Some Erra's albums have done in the past. A bit weaker in my opinion.
Well, I think it's some of their best work. They are, weirdly, they've released, 4 albums now? Maybe 5? Their genre hasn't changed all the way through.
Straight-laced gen.
Yeah, big ups Erra.
Progressive metalcore.
And they're just getting better at that same genre. So, top tracks for me, Rumour of Light, Blue Reverie, and Wave.
Okay, I'll check that album out again, because I only had a brief listen, and I quickly made an opinion on it, which probably I could...
Well, I didn't know they actually released the album, and then kind of just forced myself to listen to it just because I wasn't listening to a lot of new music this year, and I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing out on anything, and could have easily skipped over Erra like you did.
So you did sleep on it?
I didn't want to sleep on it. I went through and made sure that I didn't...
You nearly slept on it?
Yeah.
See, I really like the album with like, is it Gungrave and like Shadow of Autumnus or something like that?
I slept on that album. I think I had the fear of sleeping on 2 in a row, so I had to go listen to this one.
Yeah.
Because I only listened to Snowblood, really, off that album.
That was a banger.
Number 2, Bring the Horizon, Post-Human Next Gen.
Nice.
Some of their catchiest work they've ever created. I was hooked on every single song, no skippers. Some of their most creative work. They've got a different producer for it, so they're not with Jordan anymore. They've got a guy called Dan Lancaster who's worked with... I've liked most of the stuff that he's worked on. He's got a little bit of solo stuff. We actually camped at a festival with Dan Lancaster's in a solo band who's got a bassist that's a tent. Friends with the Prestamico guys.
Oh, okay. And do you remember we saw them some of them at Trees recently?
They weren't in Prestamico, but they were friends of Prestamico. And
now they're in Unpeople.
That's right.
Who are doing really well. They've had a proper good year.
Like you were saying earlier, huge album from Bring Me. Like it's a long one, but I really liked all the singles, and I liked the quieter songs like The Die For You and Strangers and all that. There was one that was it Strangers that sounded really like Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls or something.
I'm not quite sure.
I think it was everyone was commenting that it sounds like a Goo Goo Dolls song. My top tracks: Utopia, Top 10 Statues That Cry Blood, Bullet With My Name On, and R.I.P. which is like
R.I.P. Yeah, that's one of my favourite underrated ones.
which is
it
like, I
wasn't
think
a single.
It's like Duskcore remix or something.
Yeah, I love that song.
Yeah.
It's so catchy. Like it's one of the most catchy
it's
songs.
huge.
And the fact it wasn't even a single or anything, like, it's quite nice to have like those little nuggets where they don't have to be singles. They just, they just stand on their own merit without the promotion and stuff.
Yeah.
All right, what's your number one?
It has to be Bilmuri.
Yes. I mean, we weren't far off. Number 2, number 1.
Yeah.
It could have easily been number 1 for
the
me.
deluxe version, the 240cc motorsport one. Yeah, it's 2 or 3 extra songs on it, but they are songs that they should be in that release because that's how I want to hear that album.
I think I formed such a strong attachment with the album as it was and playing it through. It was a bit of a shock to the system when I heard those songs. I don't think I was ready. I was still processing the rest of the album and like.
But you'd already heard those songs, surely. Like they came out on YouTube before they were on the album.
No.
So I did. So when I just played the the normal release and not having those songs as well, it was like a shame to miss out on them because
they came out at the same time then.
No, they came out. I believe they. I'm talking out of school. I literally don't know. They were.
You're talking out of school.
I found them on you. They were on YouTube and not on the album.
Okay. At one point.
At one point. And then there was the re-release.
Yeah, no, I need to get on board with that because there's no reason I wouldn't like those songs. I think the album was already too overpowered. I didn't need any extra songs. It was I was quite happy for that to come out later on.
It's hard to say why I like this album so much. Like it's like everyone says it's it's y'all. What is it? Y'all alternative. I've always kind of liked a bit of country. I just think it's a perfectly crafted album. Johnny Frank, the guy that kind of writes it all, he thinks it's it's his best album. Songwriting wise, he's actually really proud of how he put a lot of work into it. He's really proud of how they all came together. The tours that they've been doing on it sound incredible. The use of saxophone, even violin at times. And I've said this before, but they are masters of the low end when it comes to like low end frequency, like their bass tones, their kick, their sub bass, everything. It works so well.
You said about Sleep Token.
Oh yeah. Well, the same point. I think they were perfect picks to go on tour with Sleep Token because they're both.
Do you listen to your music with just like the EQ on just the low end?
No.
I don't want to listen to the high end.
No, but I do play music through like my speakers at home, and it's just so noticeable when a band actually puts a lot of time into that. I've got the subwoofer and everything, and it's just it fills the room properly, like the smaller speakers do.
Yeah.
When there's proper bass. Yeah. My top tracks are The End, Bow to Cashew, and Empty Handed.
Wow, I can't believe The End and Bow to Cashew are in your top 2.
That's why I'm shocked you haven't even listened to them.
For me, it's Empty Handed is number 1, Better Hell probably number 2, and I really like. I always get them mixed up, but is it Straight Through You or 26 Cavaliers?
That is so close to being that.
It's either that or Straight to Your Ghost. I think it's 26 Cavaliers. Yeah, that's why I think it's 26 Cavaliers is my number 3. I love Talking to Your Ghost as well, though. Yeah, I love Spinning You Around. See, it's just such a solid album. It's actually really hard to pick a top 3.
Yeah,
they've all been. I think that's how you know you've got a good album is when.
Get rid of this one and get the blue one.
Yeah, I will do. When 5 of the songs on the album have been your number 1 song at one point, that's how you know it's a fucking good album.
Yeah, unbelievable.
It's the same with Boundaries.
Not necessarily metal, but it's adjacent.
It's very like founded in metal and sort of
he was a
metal
pioneer
adjacent.
What were Attack? Were they metalcore?
They were metalcore. The pioneers of like early.
They don't well, Kill Switch Engage and all them. Like
of
modern
what you'd say
2000s
metalcore. Like
internet metalcore or
crabcore.
Always played around with genres, but this has taken him to new heights, and he's somehow managed to get so many featuring artists that are actually huge country artists.
Yeah.
Country artists get so many listeners on Spotify.
Yeah, I was having a look at that.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's my number 1.
I can't believe that 2 of our 5s are 3 of them are the same.
Bilmuri, Bring Horizon, and Boundaries.
That's crazy. Let's just talk about some honourable mentions quickly. So, an album which is probably got 2 of my favourite songs of the year. Siamese, have you heard of them?
I have, yeah.
Their album Vertigo No, Elements is was really solid. I just don't think it was adventurous enough, which is why I didn't beat out some of the other albums, and you know they haven't done the time as much as Linkin Park and Bring Me, who are quite close to my heart.
Yeah.
But two songs in particular, Predator and God Is a Woman, like those songs have been in my rotation, like in my on repeat on Spotify, like all year. Like Predator was like my summer banger, and then God Is a Woman like was sort of like autumn and still now. Really strong songs, as the whole album is really good actually. But yeah, so that was an honourable mention for me. It would be really exciting to see what Siamese do next. I think they're a real band to watch for 2025.
Band you might have heard of, 156 Silence.
Yes, yeah, I have heard of them.
Unreal find. I couldn't put them in my top 5, they didn't quite get there, but I'd say they're for fans of like The Devil Wears Prada and Cane Hill.
I got into them a couple years ago actually. They had a really good intro track. I do think
they had an album this year called People Watch.
Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah, I do think they're slightly overrated, to be honest. Like a lot of people online are like, you know, waxing lyrical about them.
I don't know. I found them out of nowhere. That's how I feel about them.
They're not massive, but like they've got a bit of a hype about them. I really like his vocal technique of him. That I don't know what you call it, where he's like going. I think he does that really well. You can tell they're a very serious band. They believe in what they do, and I quite like that. But for me, I think they're a little bit overrated. I think there's bands in that genre that are more exciting to me. Yeah, I thought the album was solid, but maybe I need to listen to it again.
I didn't have any influence on how I felt about it. I just heard it and thought it sounded great.
Yeah, fair enough. One of my favourite albums, controversial one, was a band called Dealer. Their album, New Order of Mind, is my favourite, like, other than Boundaries, my favourite heavy album of the year. Like, it's just cutthroat, like, kind of sworn in.
Yeah.
Just proper, like, you'd hear that band and be like, that's a Forrest band.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had a bit of controversy with their singer, and I don't know if you heard.
No.
So yeah, they're not the most popular band, but just for the music, like, it is an amazingly consistent heavy album, and I like that it's they do push the boat out a bit. They've got this song where it's very industrial, and it's sort of like machine, like it sounds machine like, and it's got like a vocal sample, and it's very sort of like fresh and modern. But then they've even got a song where they try sort of like a clean vocal like Alpha Wolf do and stuff. But yeah, the singer used to be an Alpha Wolf as well, interestingly enough, so they're very similar to Alpha Wolf, but I prefer them. I think I prefer the vocalist tonality of voice, and the riffs are sick. Yeah, it's a proper like gym album for me. Like I stick that on, and I'm happy as Larry for like half an hour, however long it is. Really solid album.
This one kind of did make my top 5, but I actually took it out just because this is not even close to metal. But the story so far, I Want to Disappear.
It's kind of close enough.
It's kind of a return to pop punk is that, and
that's fine.
Alternative rock. And this album is a return to form for them. I felt like the last album might be my favourite album, but it's a very positive album. This album is excruciatingly negative, and which is a return to form for Parker. It's a sad album, but there's so many bangers across the board on it. And I went to go see them play it at the Roundhouse in London,
nice.
And it was incredible. If you've ever like come across like melodic hardcore before or pop or touched pop punk before, check out that album. It's so sick.
Another one for me was Poppy Negative Spaces. I think this is one of those albums that kind of does live up to the hype for me. I was quite lucky. I've been seeing it everywhere since, but I heard it when it like first came out, and got to hear it sort of like unbiased. And oh my god, the work Jordan Fisher's put on that album, like it's unbelievably well produced. It goes to so many different places, but it's all done at such a high level.
Yeah.
The songwriting is just so good. It goes, and you know me, I love heavy music, and it does heavy so well. It does catchy, and I've always wanted to like Poppy. Like I really like her artistry and like how creative she is, but I don't feel like she's properly found her form until this album. Like it's all been very avant-garde, very experimental, but this album, Jordan's kind of channeled her energy and her creativity into this perfectly produced album, and it's really solid. It's got so many songs added to my playlist. I had about 5 that I added to like songs. That's how I know it's a good album just from the first listen. Controversially, it does have a song that completely rips off Hole, Celebrity Skin. Don't know if you've heard
Really?
that song.
No, I haven't, no.
It's like dana dana dana. It's literally the exact same intro.
Yeah, and I think there's like track 3 or 4 or something. I can't remember what it's called, but it sounds exactly like a modern Architects song.
Yeah.
Like
they
down to the guitar tone.
They rip off Architects. Obviously, bring me in influence. I even found like Polaris. Like for me, that's what I heard anyway. So yeah, but I suppose that's the risk you take when you try and delve into so many different subgenres. This is very much a experimental album within confines. So it's like, we're going to do this sort of Architect song, we're going to do this sort of Bring Me song, we're going to do this whole song, we're going to do this like, you know, kind of pop song.
I don't have a problem with that.
I don't have a problem with that.
If you're in a studio and you want to create loads of singles and they all sound a bit different, great. Like, I don't have a problem with that. It just so happens that it turned into an album.
Yeah. It was almost as if they made like 10 different EPs and then they chose the best song from each EP. That's what it sounds like. They haven't just experimented.
I've got a lot of time for that. Like, I don't need a band to create the most cohesive album ever, as long as it sounds good.
Yeah, and you know what, like some of the more, I call them like poppy songs, they tie it in together nicely in between them, so it's like they've definitely found a sound that they like, but then they really go to town in some of the others. I'd have you heard it?
Yeah, I've gone through it. I've probably got 3 songs saved. Can't remember what they're called, but no, it's a good time. I don't like all of it, and I don't. You know, she is kind of in that sort of... She did pull a lot of sort of publicity stunts and all that kind of stuff, and I don't really... For some reason, I get my back up against that sort of behaviour in the scene. I don't know why, but, like, it was a good album. And I think it's like it's a new... I'm happy that she's going in this direction. It's a little bit more focused.
I think the main publicity stunts she did were quite in good taste, really. Like, and they weren't really necessarily publicity stunts. They were just amazing networking and marketing through getting on Bad Omen's remix album with the song Van, which then ended up being the biggest song, and also Climb With Not Lose Suffocate, which ended up being the biggest song, performing that on Jimmy Kimmel. So I think they're the avenues where the spotlight has come from, over actually like publicity stunts. Like, what other publicity stunts are you referring to?
One of her first big videos was just her staring at a camera going, "I am Poppy."
Well, that's because she used to be on YouTube, like. Yeah, that she just makes stupid YouTube videos like that, and then she started to make music.
I kind of don't think she's kind of got an into metal, so I don't. This is a weird comparison, but it's a bit like MGK getting kicked out of the rap scene and getting into like pop punk and rock and stuff like that. She was kind of normal and then kind of saw what she could do in metal and appropriating metal a little bit.
I get what you mean. Yeah,
I'm not gatekeeping metal. Who cares? But like, I do see a little bit of that.
I think if you look at her history, though, she's always kind of had one foot in metal. Like she's always been fascinated, and she's always done screaming. And the songs have been...
When's always, though?
When I first heard her, like, nearly 10 years ago.
Really? I didn't know that.
Well, maybe not 10 years ago. Like, yeah, but it wasn't cohesive. It was, like, avant-garde, experimental.
Right.
And, like, her whole thing is her name's Poppy, and the songs always have pop elements. They're, like, poppy songs, kind of like pre-hyperpop, like, very sugary pop. And then she'll contrast it with sort of like dance or metal, and like it'll be like very harsh like contrast between the sections.
Yeah,
so it'd be almost like a Beatles, like it literally sounded like Beatles chorus, and then it would have like a weird dance. Yeah, and it was weird to listen to. And she had a song actually that came out about 2016 with Jason Butler. So she's always kind of had one foot in metal, but I just don't think it was always kind of like an art project for her. Whereas this latest album is like an actual body of work that you can appreciate as an album. Whereas before it was a bit like, that's a cool avant-garde art piece, where it's like, here's a well thought out cohesive album with one of the most respected producers right now, Jordan Fish.
There's a band called Distant.
Yeah, I actually played with that band before.
Have you?
Yeah. So Ben was in Drifted, and they went on tour with Distant over in Europe.
That's cool.
And then when they played Brighton, Ocean Embers supported them.
Supported Distant?
Yeah.
I didn't actually know that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. They put out a song like last year called like Argent Justice, I think. And it had like 10 deathcore vocals, including like Frankie Palmieri on it. And I sent you that. I was like, oh my god! I sent that one. I couldn't believe how heavy it was, how cool it was. And this new album is like, it's like deathcore with a bit of Born of Osiris like in it. Like I thought it was so sick.
I never got into it properly. I like the shock factor of it, of like how heavy they can get with certain songs. But just like the whole album, it can be a bit much.
This album is a bit much.
Yeah. But weirdly, another connection, Valis' guitarist, Jack, he did some orchestration for one of their albums as well.
That's
weirdly.
cool.
So he does like orchestra stuff.
Nice.
So I got a few connections to Distant.
Put a word in.
Yeah, but Alan wants to say hello. Yeah, no, that's cool. I'll check that out actually. My last, I've got two more actually. Another one, not metal, but kind of metal surrounding. A funk artist called Kordhell, who actually is in a metal band who's playing download called Anal Nakraf. He brought out an album with DJ Paul called Music for the Funeral. But yeah, so the whole album has like different features, and it's actually the most fucking. Have I showed you this album before?
No.
It's got the craziest features I've ever seen. But yeah, like funk, I think is like an upcoming. It's still kind of in its infancy. It's kind of music you would have heard on like TikToks and reels. But that's funk. That sound.
Right.
It's kind of like really like compressed electronic music with like someone rapping. Normally, like a Memphis hardcore is like the genre of rap that's in the background. Just quite,
I've heard this,
quite
yeah.
that. I love his work with Scarlord. You heard of Scarlord?
Yeah.
So he's done a whole album with Scarlord, but his latest album is so good. I like how the latest album has a sped up version of the whole album and a slowed down version, because people just do it on YouTube anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, this album, so check out the features. So this song has Kordhell, Chris Motionless from Motionless and White, and Stitches.
Has Stitches. I throw a brick in your face.
Yeah.
That guy.
Now I'm gonna fight my Cyrus. It has
I just put the money.
it has Scarlord, it has Yellow Wolf, it has
Really?
Riff Raff. The weirdest, craziest features, but it works. It's just a fun album that's a bit different to metal, but still metal adjacent.
There's an EP that came out that I found. It was like, I think it's a French artist called Mirar.
Ah, yes. Yeah, I've had Mirar.
Just dark, evil music, blisteringly heavy, like guitar squeals, like that are really well crafted.
Pioneering the foul scene right now. Mirar, they're like right at the front of it.
Yeah, really good band. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do.
Yeah, they're definitely ones to watch for sure. My last album, honourable mention, would be Shokran. Do you remember Shokran?
I know Shokran.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard their latest album. It's really good. Amon Ra definitely would be in my songs of the year. Every song is like an Egyptian god, as like they normally do.
Yeah.
But yeah, amazing guitar work. Like they're just pushing that sound forward. Like they're still a bit like Erra. Like they've stuck to that djenty Egyptian sound, and they just keep doing it and improving on it. Yeah, really solid album, enjoyable listen. It's something a bit different. Well, that was our top albums of the year and our favourite releases. Thanks for sticking around for the whole video. If you liked it, leave us a like and think about subscribing for more content like this. And we'll catch you in the next one.